Yo, what's up everybody, it's your boy Elvius Void coming back with a new what if, which is what if Tanjiro was born with the Demon Slayer mark, or that type of stuff. So a few things we need to go over for this what if is just going over what the Demon Slayer mark really is. So the Demon Slayer mark, basically it's a mark that would appear on Demon Slayers to defeat demons, which would give them a massive boost in strength, perception, speed, and all that type of whatnot for actually killing demons, as well as giving the user of the Demon Slayer mark the ability to have a bright red Nichiren blade, as well as, as I said, the enhanced physical capabilities, as well as something that Tanjiro in this what if will get instantly, which is the transparent world, where you'll be able to see the muscles, blood flow, and joint movements of all living beings, which would really help in predicting and basically having the Sharingan and Byakugan put into one little thing. So yeah, I thought I'd just go over that stuff before this, as well as for this what if for the Demon Slayer mark, it will not have the curse of the mark, so it will be like Yorichi's mark, where he was able to continue being in his peak physical condition for the entire point of his life, from his birth all the way till when he died. Manga spoilers for everyone not watching, to when he died of old age, standing up like an absolute chad. So without further ado, let's just get right into this what if. We start this what if with Tanjiro's birth. Tanjiro would be born as usual in the Kamado family, but with his birth, his mother and father would notice that there is a mark on Tanjiro's left side of his forehead. They wouldn't know what the actual mark is, but think it is a very not so horrific birthmark that was given to Tanjiro. But we all know this as the Demon Slayer mark, of what it would be called in the future when Tanjiro goes into the Demon Slayer corpse. Tanjiro, for these first few years of his life, would just be walking around as the original, as what he would normally do, but he wouldn't talk or have any real facial expression for the first part of his life, and his parents would be very worried for him, especially, his mother and father. Though he wouldn't show any facial expressions, he would still have all his emotions, but because of the mark and not really having a fighting spirit, he wouldn't be able to show any of his real facial expressions for a lot of his early days of his childhood. Tanjiro would grow up nearly the exact same as he did in the original, but he would be much stronger and more perceptive to everything that happens around him, being able to save his brother from having the hot pot of soup fall on him, not being injured by this at all. His mother and father would see this all the time, seeing as Tanjiro has an immense amount of physical capabilities, much greater than anybody they actually know, as well as his father himself, who does have the Breath of the Sun, or the Hinokami Kagura, or the Dance of the Sun God. After a few years of watching his father perform the Hinokami Kagura, he would always want to do the same dance, seeing it as it seems so magical and absolutely mystical in his eyes. On his 7th birthday, after doing all this stuff and his father doing the dance, the 7-year-old Tanjiro would ask his father if he could try to do the dance. With his father seeing that there's no harm in doing so, he would give Tanjiro the wooden sword, or, not only the wooden sword, but the kind of fan-like things that he has. Tanjiro would get ready and calm himself. Around the area, a cold breeze would hit the scene as Tanjiro's father's eyes would widen. Tanjiro, at the age of 7, was able to perform the Dance of the Sun God with near perfection, doing it nearly the exact same as his father did, but would be able to add more strength into each blow that he does it, making it seem more mystical and more mysterious. With Tanjiro's father seeing this, he would be absolutely astonished by what Tanjiro is doing, and when Tanjiro's finished, he would turn to his father, and the first time ever, Tanjiro would smile. With a warm smile on his face, he would thank his father for letting him try this. Tanjiro's father would start to cry, as this is the first time that Tanjiro had ever given him, or anyone of his family, a proper facial expression, or any type of emotion on his face at all, and seeing this, it brought absolute joy to his face. Tanjiro's father, for the next few years would see how Tanjiro is an absolute prodigy in everything that he does, that being anything physical as well as, mental, as Tanjiro is pretty much extremely smart, or as smart as you can get for someone who's in a coal farming family, but anything physical he'd be an absolute prodigy in. With all this being done, he would decide to teach Tanjiro everything that he knows about the dance, and with 1 year passing, Tanjiro would be able to use the Breath of the Sun, or the Himekaga Kagura. And on days that his father's feeling a bit ill, Tanjiro would go in his place and perform the dance to ward off any of the evil spirits, or the demons in general. With 5 years passing, Tanjiro would head into the village to sell the coal, as his family are still coal sellers, or coal farmers. As Tanjiro is in the village, he would meet an old man who tells Tanjiro to stay in the village tonight, as it is dangerous to go out at night and there are evil spirits or demons wandering about. Tanjiro, taking the advice of the old man, he decides to stay in the village and would go towards the old man's house and stay there for the night. But as we know, the demon lord Muzan would appear in the night and would kill Tanjiro's family and would turn Nezuko into a demon. After the night passes, Tanjiro would thank the old man, heading back home early in the morning before the sun had fully risen, thinking that he should probably get to the house as early as possible, not to worry his family anymore. With Tanjiro going up these snowy mountains, he would go to his family's residence and would see that his family is all murdered, and would find Nezuko is still breathing, crying as this is all happening, as this is a massive shock to his system. He would be crying heavily, walking around to see which family member is still alive, and would find Nezuko, as I said before, who is still alive, and would see, using his transparent world, see that the blood flow around Nezuko is still going and that her heart is still beating. With that being said, he would quickly grab Nezuko and run down to the village to try get her any medical help that she can get to help her stay alive in the States. But as we know, as he's running down the massive snowy mountain, she would be turning into her demonic-like body, or at this point, and would, at a random point, start to attack Tanjiro. But as I said, Tanjiro with the Demon Slayer mark would be much superior in strength to Nezuko, even if she is a demon, and would be able to hold her down, grabbing her by the shoulders and slamming her down to the ground, seeing that she's got a feral expression on her face and is drooling from the mouth. Tanjiro wouldn't know what's happening, but before he could do anything more, Gyuyu would come out of nowhere and kick Tanjiro off of Nezuko and try to slam his sword down, trying to decapitate Nezuko. But Tanjiro is not having any of this, and would be able to, with his much more physical adept body, be able to kick Gyuyu in the stomach, sending him flying away, but would also flip Nezuko back to the ground as she tried to attack Tanjiro once again. With the fight now happening between the two, Gyuyu would be absolutely astonished about what's happening right now. He was just kicked by someone who is a regular person, even though he's a trained Hashira. Or even if he doesn't think himself as a Hashira, he still has the Hashira abilities. With Tanjiro now seeing Gyuyu, he would ask him what is he doing and why he tried to kill his sister. Gyuyu would explain that his sister is not human anymore and is a demon, and that it is his job as a demon slayer to kill demons and to rid the world of that evil. Tanjiro would say that his sister isn't like that, and she isn't a demon, but he would know deep down that this type of expression and the gore that he had witnessed earlier definitely did point to having demons around, and could have turned his sister into a demon. With Gyuyu would again try to tell Tanjiro what's happening, while Tanjiro is still holding down his sister, as he does have much more physical strength than her, being able to hold her down. With Nezuko, who is still having that feral expression and growling as much as he can to get Tanjiro off her, she would again start to calm down and would, like in the original, try to get up and kind of protect Tanjiro away from Gyuyu. But with Gyuyu seeing this, he would see that Nezuko is not like any other demon, and with Tanjiro saying that she didn't kill anybody, as well as didn't eat anybody, as what he's trying to tell him, that she's definitely not like any other demon. With Gyuyu seeing that this is a possibility, and that now Nezuko has gotten Tanjiro off of her, as well as going and trying to go into a protective stance around him, he would see that Nezuko is not like any other demon. With everything kind of going to the original with that type of scenario, and all the events happening the exact same, Gyuyu would tell Tanjiro, as well as, he now knocked out Nezuko after Gyuyu had knocked her out, kind of flashing behind her and slamming his hand into the back of her head, knocking her out, would tell Tanjiro that he's going to take him to his old master, which is Irodaki, I think that's how you say his name. Anyway, Tanjiro would agree to this, and Gyuyu saying that he has to go into the Demon Slayer corpse if he wants to help turn his sister back into a human from a demon. Tanjiro would agree to this and would separate from Gyuyu at this point, but Gyuyu would tell him the location of the old master that he once had. Tanjiro would take the now knocked out Nezuko down to the village and would get a box from a random person after buying it, but the person would say that there's no need to pay for it, as it is something cheap and he was going to throw it out anyway. Putting Nezuko into the box, he would then make his way down to the temple, where at the night at this point, or coming near to the morning, the demon who is feasting on someone would try to attack Tanjiro and Nezuko, smelling or kind of sensing that Nezuko is in the box. Tanjiro, who has a axe in his hand right now at this point, would immediately rush towards the demon, but not using any Breath of the Sun at this point, as he doesn't know it's meant for combat. But using his absolute, physical capabilities, he'd be able to overpower the demon with pretty much ease, having the exact same scenario not happening in the original, but being a one-sided fight between Tanjiro and the temple demon. The temple demon would be decapitated but not killed from the axe, as it isn't a Nichiren blade, and would have to be put into a type of holding lock until the sun rises, in which it would evaporate into nothingness. With Urodaki seeing this, he would meet Tanjiro and agree to train Tanjiro in the breath of the in water breathing, as he doesn't know that Tanjiro has any other prior breath training. With the training between Sakonji, I think he said his name, or his first name, training Tanjiro, he would see that Tanjiro is having a very easy time with his training, and on the off days that Tanjiro would do his normal Breath of the Sun dancing routine, he would show Urodaki, I think I keep on messing up his name. Anyway, he would show him this dance, and he would be absolutely amazed, seeing that this is a flawless dance, performed by someone that is a master in breathing styles. He would immediately ask Tanjiro what that was, and Tanjiro would explain that it is not Breath of the Sun, he doesn't know what it is, but the Himakaga Kagura. Oh shit, I think I just butchered that mad. Anyway, after explaining what it is and that he's been training since he was 7 years old to master it, and has mastered it at this point, his teacher would explain that that is definitely a breath style, but he doesn't know the exact breath style it is, but it seems way more advanced than any breath style that he's seen, that being, the breath of the fire, water that has mastered, wind, rock, lightning, all the major ones. He would tell Tanjiro that if he wants to become a demon slayer, that he has to master this and put it into a way that he can use it in combat. For the next year of what the training would usually be for Breath of the Water, he'd be learning and trying to master completely what the Breath of the Sun truly is. With the 1 year time skip basically happening as per canon, Tanjiro would have learned fully how to master this in battle, and would now have the Breath of the Sun completely mastered for when he goes into the actual final selection. His teacher would explain that to be able to have his blessing to go in it, he has to cut this massive boulder in half, and with his teacher telling him that, Urodaki, Tanjiro would immediately grab the sword that he has, what was given to him by him, and would cut the rock in half instantly, showing no real difficulty in doing so. With that being said, he would smile and say that Tanjiro will become a great demon slayer, and would definitely be able to pass the final selection. with Nezuko as well having the same type of mystical voodoo stuff happening with her as well to make every human look like her family member. She would have the exact same what she is in the original. After that's being said and done, Tanjiro would probably not meet Sabato or Makimo, as there's no real need for them to be there, as Tanjiro was able to cut the rock instantly with no difficulty, so he wouldn't have the same type of training with the two spirits. With that being said, the final selection would happen, and Tanjiro, after looking at all the other participants trying to get into the Demon Slayer Corps, he would see that there are two people that he sees are pretty much isn't what he would really expect. That being Zenitsu, being one who seems to be freaking out and crying hysterically, as well as his future wife. With that being said, the final selection would begin, and Tanjiro would go around and would massacre every demon that he sees. Every demon would have a massive shock to the system, seeing Tanjiro with his earrings, as well as the mark and the breast style that he's using. They would all freeze in fear, as Tanjiro is one-shotting every demon that he sees. When with Tanjiro encountering the hand demon would see that Tanjiro has the same type of mask that he would have in the original, and would try to, talk some smack to Tanjiro, but instantly seeing Tanjiro not having any facial expression on his face, as well as the mark extending further on his forehead, he would freeze in fear and have flashbacks, or not real flashbacks, but he'd be freaking out. But before he could really freak out anymore, his head would roll off his shoulders and he would die, dissipating into nothingness. With Tanjiro now defeating all the demons there, basically saving everyone there, with making that more people would survive this final selection, he would end the test and would go and pick out the certain rock to make his final Nichiren blade that he would have. With Tanjiro, he would again return to Mount Sagari, I think he said, the mountain where his teacher is, and would say that he had passed the final selection, and that would be the finishing of the training arc, or the final selection arc. With Tanjiro, who is now given a crow and his blade, which would turn to the absolute black. He would turn into a black blade, having no real color into it. After being given his crow and his blade, he would go off to disembark on his first mission, that being the mission towards where the swamp demon is. Tanjiro would be running down the road and would go into the village, where he would meet a young man, or someone who was just married, and would ask why he was freaking out and why the villagers seemed to hate him. He would explain that his wife had gone missing and everyone was blaming him for the death of his wife, and it would explain that it was crazy that one moment she was there and the next she just disappeared. Tanjiro would immediately know that this is probably the work of a demon, as this was at night, and would use his really enhanced smell to find where the demon is. And with the same in the original, the man would follow as well, and Tanjiro at night would meet with the swamp demon. With the swamp demon not really having any type of time to reaction, Tanjiro would unsheath his blade and would perform the first form of the Breath of the Sun. The first form, Dance. Tanjiro would deliver a single high-powered vertical slash on the demon, which would cut the demon up and would kill the demon instantly, not leaving any room for it to fight back, much like what Yorichi had done in the past. This demon had no time to think that he's died, but had just dissipated into nothingness, and unlike the original, they wouldn't have any of the mementos left, as the demon just completely died. It wouldn't have gone into the swamp area, or the demon blood art that the swamp demon has. With Nezuko not having to get out, there's no real need for this arc to continue anymore. The man, or Kazumi, which is the husband, or the ex-husband now, would mourn for the loss of his dead wife, now knowing that she was devoured by this demon and was now killed by this young man. Tanjiro, again like in the original, would comfort the man and would leave to go on his next mission. As Tanjiro arrives in a open town with a very vibey area, that being Asakusa, I think that's how you say it, he'd be wandering around where he gets an intense smell from his nose and would immediately recognize the smell. he would realize that this is Muzan Kibitsuchi, and would immediately rush off to where he was. He would run through the crowd, banging, pushing everyone out of the way, and would meet the man who murdered his family. He would grab his shoulder and turn him around. Muzan's eyes would be annoyed and would look at Tanjiro, but a massive chill would go down his spine as he would remember Yoriichi. Seeing the silhouette of him, he would freak out as his cells start to spasm and fear as he's getting flashbacks to when Yoriichi nearly killed him, chopping him up into little pieces as he had nothing, there was nothing that he could do in that scenario. Seeing Tanjiro's earrings as well as the mark on his forehead, he would think that Yoriichi had come back from the dead to finish him off once and for all. Fearing this entire thing, Muzan would immediately try to turn as many people as demons as possible, but with Tanjiro being extremely fast and extremely powerful, he wouldn't let him. Tanjiro would unsheath his sword and would perform 6th form solar heat haze, and would jump towards Muzan, trying to cut off his hands before he can actually turn anybody into a demon. And he succeeds, chopping off Muzan's hand, or his tentacle-like hand, before he could try to convert anybody into a demon there. Muzan would be absolutely furious by this entire scenario and would be absolutely scared as well. He would throw his child towards Tanjiro to get an escape plan ready, as he doesn't want to fight off Tanjiro at this point, seeing that he could be a massive nuisance in the future. He would immediately run away, trying to turn as many people into demons, but Tanjiro would follow. As many people as there are many people there, and with all the people that are nearly turning into demons would be stopped by Tanjiro, who is immediately cutting off Muzan's arms, or the little tentacle monsters that are around him. But with someone turning into a demon and Tanjiro having to stop this guy from devouring any other humans, Tanjiro would have to let Muzan free. Muzan would leave and escape, freaking out after that last encounter. With the police now coming into question, they would try to get Tanjiro to surrender as he's holding a sword and just cut off this one guy's arms, who seemed to be a tentacle monster. Tamio would use her demon blood art of the mystical flower type of demon blood art, and would confuse the police that are there. Tanjiro would meet Yorisho and Tamio and would leave with them. Tanjiro would immediately know that this is a demon and wouldn't think much of it, as she didn't seem to want to kill any humans, as she hasn't done it yet. Tanjiro would go towards their household, or where they are hiding from Muzan, and would get talking with them, and would find out that she is trying to get a cure for the demon, to get a cure to turn demons back into humans, as she wants to kill Muzan more than anybody else. Tanjiro would say that he's trying to turn Nezuko back into a human, as she hasn't devoured anybody and isn't in the control of Muzan whatsoever. Tamio would, like in the original, ask Tanjiro to leave her with her, so that Tanjiro can go on his Demon Slayer missions without the need for the demon on his back. Tanjiro, seeing Nezuko in his eyes, would say that there's no need for that to happen, and he'll be taking her with her. With Muzan, he is in an alley and his body is convulsing. He'd be freaking out as his arms are not regenerating like they should be. Back then, with the fight between Tanjiro and Muzan, Tanjiro's sword had turned into a bright red Nichiren blade because of the Demon Slayer mark. He would immediately be freaked out and would go into a hiding, not telling the two other demons that he usually had to go and tell to kill Tanjiro. He'd be freaking out and would call an upper moon meeting, that being the first one in over basically 100 years. Muzan would call the meeting, and all the upper moons, minus the lower moons, would all join up together in the Infinite Castle, with Muzan telling everybody, or the upper 6 moons would tell him that there is a boy with a Demon Slayer mark who knows the breath of the sun, as well as has the earrings, or the earrings of Yoriichi. All the demons would get a little nervous about this, seeing that Muzan is absolutely terrified of this boy. Kokoshibo Kokoshibo would narrow his eyebrows, as he hasn't heard anybody and that knows the breath of the sun that they haven't killed or wiped out of the earth him and Muzan. Kokoshibo would ask Muzan who this boy is, and he would explain that he doesn't know, but he has those earrings and knows the breath of the sun, and had been able to outspeed him in him trying to get away from him. Muzan would tell him that he wants that boy to die, and that they need to put all their strength into killing the boy as soon as possible, as that boy could possibly defeat him, and he doesn't want that to happen, obviously. The 6 upper moons would go back to the original places where they usually are, that being, the lower moon 6, Gutaro, would go back to the entertainment district, and all the other people would go back to where they originally are. I think they all just wander around. Anyway, with that being done, back with Tanjiro, he would leave the little residence of Tamiyo with Nezuko with him, and would go off to get his next mission, which would be the Tsumi Mansion arc. With that being said, Tanjiro walking down the road with the backpack on with Nezuko inside, he would meet with Zenitsu, who is trying to beg a woman to marry him, with no prevail, as he's crying, begging the woman. Tanjiro would immediately grab Zenitsu by the shirt and would pull him away, yelling at him to stop being annoying and to not try to, be a pervert and ask someone to marry him who he has no idea who she is even anyway. Tanjiro and Zenitsu would tell him that they are both, Tanjiro would say that he saw Zenitsu in the final selection of the Demon Slayers, and would say that he's also a Demon Slayer member. Tanjiro and Zenitsu would walk over and would go towards the Tsumi Mansion, and would see that there's 2 little kids there waiting, well, not really waiting, but scoping out the area. Tanjiro and Zenitsu would try to help the 2 children help find their brother, as he had been kidnapped or went into this little mansion. Going inside, the group would split up, with Tanjiro encountering the past lower moon 6. Tanjiro, in this scenario, would instead just use one of the breathing forms of the breath of the sun, and would immediately decapitate the demon, leaving this arc pretty much finished. Tanjiro would also meet Inosuke, who would immediately try to attack him and would beg for a battle, as Tanjiro was able to immediately kill the demon with pretty much ease. With Zenitsu, he would encounter the tongue demon and would pass out from fear and use the first form of the breath of thunder to decapitate that tongue demon instantly. With Inosuke, who had also before this had encountered the horn demon and would have defeated the horn demon as well. With Tanjiro and Tanjiro and Inosuke, as well as Zenitsu, they would all meet up and find the lost brother and would return them back to the brothers. With Inosuke not attacking Zenitsu as they are all together, and Tanjiro trying to stop Inosuke from fighting him, Inosuke would continue to ask Tanjiro for a fight and would get his sword out. But Tanjiro, not having any of this, would just headbutt Inosuke, knocking him out. And while they were waiting for him to wake up, they would all go back to the Nagagumo mountain for the next arc. With the group receiving orders to investigate that mountain, they will all go up and arrive as a group to the mountain. As they've made their way up to the bottom wall, the entrance to the mountain path, Tanjiro and Inosuke would go up, continuing to go up the path, but Zenitsu, being the coward that he is, would stay behind, saying that there's no way that he's going to risk his life to go up into the mountain to face off with those demons. Tanjiro, who again, because the Demon Slayer mark is not giving any facial expression, would continue to walk up the mountain, not paying Zenitsu any mind at this point. They would continue to go up to the mountain, both Tanjiro and Inosuke, and would meet with Murata, who is a Demon Slayer Corps member. Back at the actual Demon Slayer Corps main place with Kaguya, both Gyu and Shinobu were sent to help in the investigation of the spiders up in the mountain. Back with Tanjiro and Inosuke, they will continue to find and discover Demon Slayer puppets who are being controlled by all the other demon spiders. Tanjiro would encounter Ryu, and because Tanjiro is an absolute Chad, Tanjiro would be able to use the 9th form Dragon Sun Halo head dance, and it would go and unleash a monstrous and continuous fast and powerful sword strikes that would destroy any of the spider webs of the demon blood art that Ryu has. And because of this, a massive Japanese dragon would form out of the flames and would be able to chop down every single demon blood art that Ryu sends at him. Tanjiro's blade would turn bright red, and Tanjiro would be able to decapitate Ryu without him having to decapitate himself to save his life. Ryu would start to disintegrate, and all the other spider family members would realize this. And one by one, with Tanjiro and Inosuke going through the entire forest, Tanjiro and Inosuke would encounter the mother spider and the father spider and be able to take care of them. Zenitsu would again get some courage and would go up to the mountain and would have some training flashbacks with his grandpa. Zenitsu would encounter the spider demon's son, and because he passes out once again, he would kill the son, but as well as being poisoned by him. Later on, Shinobi would discover Zenitsu and heal him or give him an antidote to the poison. Tanjiro, who is just chilling with Inosuke now and seeing if all the other Demon Slayer members are fine and safe, he would continue to go around. With all that being said and done, Gyu would come and see Tanjiro, but before he can do anything, Shinobu would go and try to attack not Tanjiro, but Nezuko, who is beside Tanjiro at this point, as it is late in the night and the sun hasn't come up. With Gyu now stopping Shinobi from continuing to chase after Tanjiro, Tanjiro would also get in a defensive stance, as Shinobi had failed in the attack of attacking Nezuko. With that being said, Gyu would tell Shinobi to stop trying to chase after Nezuko and to just stand still, as all of this will be explained back at the Kaguya residence. So that's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want more of this, please hit that like button, subscribe button. I'll be setting a like goal of 20 likes for this series to continue. So if you did enjoy it, please hit that like button, subscribe button, and I'll see you guys later.